It's the AI revolution call. I'm Cody. That's Bryce. It says Cody Willard. We should put Cody and Bryce down there at the bottom.
I'm usually on a separate screen, but today I'm with Cody.
Yeah, we are in person together. That's John Dio. He is an AI expert. Bryce and I, we run a hedge fund. We invest in technology stuff. John works in the AI industry as he has for 30 years. Not making that up. There's a lot of AI going on. We've talked for doing this call, I don't know, a year and a half probably at this point. And when we started, AI was still just mostly chat GPT interactions. Yeah. And you asked it questions and it would answer.
Twitter while you're going.
He's going to tweet about this call while we're talking. Eventually, he'll be able to do that with an AI agent. But the fact is that it's changed already, and I think perhaps the single biggest part of the AI revolution right now that I'm having this epiphany about, and I'm going to run through 5 things I've learned building AI apps. And forever I wrote, longtime followers of mine know, I've talked about the app revolution since the smartphone hit. I mean, you could have called it the smartphone revolution, but I pictured the iPad coming eventually. And so I wanted it to be a more generic term than just a smartphone revolution. And the app revolution has clearly been incredible. I mean, Spotify, Netflix, Uber, travel apps, Airbnb, there's trillions of dollars. There are trillions of dollars of value that have been created because of apps. And the AI revolution is amazing in many ways, including like the agents that are coming and that are already here that you can talk to and do things for you, and the agents that will be here 6 months or a year from now, like, hey, Siri, go tweet about the AI call that's about to start, and it'll know what you're talking about and do that stuff. But building these AI app building platforms like Replit and AI Studio from Gemini Google and Bolt.new and these other things, we showed you guys a few of our apps that Bryce and I had been building, but what's crazy is the random ideas that people come up with now, and know that with a little bit of interaction on Replit.com, it works. Like I mentioned last week, our next door neighbor here at my office, it's the NRCS, which is a national, federal bureaucracy. And one of the guys there took a picture of the form that farmers and ranchers have to fill out, and made an app so they can do it on their phone and walk around their property and actually count the cows in that herd, or what the number of some sort of weed that's poisonous on their farm and stuff. And it's happening in real time. And the fact that you can, the app revolution was amazing because you could, if you wanted to, hire some coders in San Francisco, or you could hire coders in the Philippines or Vietnam or somewhere else. And language barrier notwithstanding, you could talk to them, and you tell, hey, add the ability to log into this new app, and they're like, all right. And then a few days later or the next day, they'd send you the new version, and you test it, and you over weeks, months, build an app and add functionality to it and features to it, but you were paying tens of thousands minimum to get that done, millions if you're Uber or, a big, well-financed company building those things. And now you just talk, it's not talk. They are going to get to the point where you talk and build the app, but you type in prompts, and there's, instead of a language barrier of English being a second language for the manager who's dealing with you in Vietnam, it's an LLM based interface that you're typing to. And if you can prompt it in proper English and explain what you're trying to say well, better than I'm doing right now, you build the apps. And like this, I think last week I was like, it'd be a great idea building the TikTok of AI apps and AI games. So there's a central place for people to just sort of like scroll through and see them all. And I spent, I don't know, probably a good 10 hours over the weekend building that using Replit for the first time. I had been using AI Studio. I was like, Bryce, what should I try next? And he was like, Replit. I tried it. And what I showed you this morning, you're blown away. It's cool. Now he's working on it. I handed it off to him. He spent 2 or 3 hours on it today, adding more features. We'll show it next week. But in the meantime, it is just sort of amazing to think through the democratization of the app revolution and the fact that we can all quickly implement any idea you have for using the features on your smartphone, from cameras to GPS to cookies, keeping you logged into the app, etc. It's amazing, and it is happening in real time. You guys talk back and forth your thoughts on that as I pull up the top 5 things I've learned building apps.
Oh, I was just going to, the democratization was on my mind as you were going through that, because I thought that was what you're kind of getting at in a way, that we've gone from, hey, it costs a lot of, you can do it, but it costs a lot of money, to you can do it yourself. There's one other thing, though, is that it didn't only make the apps more cheap and immediate to make and stuff. It's also that you can build AI into the apps, which wasn't even a thing back then. So if you want to make your apps sort of have some of that like intelligence of a ChatGPT, or be able to talk about, whether it's talk or write, about certain things, and you seem like an expert in a certain area, whatever, like tons of stuff like that. It's like it can get in that whole aspect too. So it's like democratization of intelligent apps. As well.
I'm glad you said that. That's exactly right. The apps themselves, building the apps are incredibly easy now. And in creating AI features inside of the apps, like I showed last week, Crush.club, the website I built for my daughter, who's 11-year-old who loves crocheting. And you can take a picture of your sunglasses and it'll give you, AI will create images and instructions and color sets and everything for how you build whatever you're telling it you want to build using AI. So building the apps themselves is democratized and easy, and the functionality and ability of those apps is better than anything ever because you can integrate AI into it.
I just pictured a Optimus getting dexterous enough to use Crochet Crush, and you got this robot using your website and then doing the actual crocheting.
Yeah, you'd probably have to download an app from the Optimus App Store that enables the crocheting ability inside the Optimus robot, and then it can look at those instruction sets on my crochetcrush.club app.
But couldn't the Crochet Crush app be that app that Optimus downloads?
Well,
no, it could be, but
a partner app.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to, like for it to learn crocheting, it's probably going to have to watch thousands of or hundreds of hours of crochet videos on YouTube.
Yeah,
for a lot less, where it doesn't need as much to do it. But yes, it'd be it would be a partner app, and then it's kind of like people think of that as like, the Matrix when he says, "I know Kung Fu." It's like you get into where it's plugged in and just downloaded, and like a different version of the robot has already done it and knows it and everything, and now yours is just needs to get it loaded in to do it.
Yeah, and on that note, I've mentioned this on this call before, I'm sure, but written about it also, that I do expect, obviously, there to be an Optimus App Store, and Tesla is going to charge, I don't know, Apple and Google try to charge 30%, and they're always getting in trouble. I actually would expect Tesla not to even push that threshold. It'll be 20% or something. And then, like Tesla gets a 20% carry on every app that's sold, and that someone purchases in the Tesla Optimus App Store.
Mm-hmm.
And those apps are different. They're not like the apps you guys build for humans to use. These are the apps that just skill up the robot.
Yeah, just like another example we've used is like tying rebar on a construction site. It'll download the like that app, that ability to tie rebar, and then you can send it out on your construction site. And if you have 50 Optimus robots building your high rise and you need rebar tied, but you want it done the whole building and all 50 robots on it, you could download the 50 app, the app to all 50 of them and turn them loose. And that's why I say we're going to have like an order of magnitude more high rises around the world 10 years, 15 years from now. Yeah. All right. So here's the number one thing I've learned: using AI to build AI apps.
Hey, Bryce, you can name this video. Top 5 things I learned building AI apps.
Number one, the democratization of the app revolution. I think that's sort of what we've been hitting on here. To just reiterate, Bryce's family, they have like some rentals. Mm-hmm. What was the idea you told me today? And it wasn't your idea, it was your family's idea.
Yeah, we're talking about putting in like an RV park, but we don't want to be spending time up there managing people coming in and out of the RV park. So one of my brother-in-law was like, it'd be cool if we could find, electrical outlets, plugins that we could sync up with an app, like QR code. So when somebody comes in with an RV, scan the QR code, pay the lot fee, and then it would unlock, or energize the receptacle so you could plug in your RV, and then nobody would have to be there physically managing the RV park on a day-to-day basis.
And you could do that. Like, it would literally, in the day, you could make an app that scans QR codes, and obviously there's going to be some, you're going to need some hardware interfacing and hardware purchases in that example, but the app itself could be made. And that's just a random idea, again, that someone randomly had who's building an RV park and knowing, hey, instead of manually doing stuff, I could have AI doing it. And so that idea, just being able to come up with an idea that the world could use, that you personally could use, that your company could use, or I built my wife, who's now a judge, I showed you guys last week, the judicial AI app that we made for her. And it, like John pointed out, it actually uses, it's an AI-centric app, and we built it with AI, and it's pretty incredible.
So those were just examples of democratizing to illustrate your number one about democratizing?
That is correct. Let me I'll share my screen and just show screenshots of each of these. So, like I mentioned, the Crochet Crush, this is what the website looks like. The snap and stitch feature is the one that uses the camera and creates an AI generated instruction set for how to make anything. This is the app I made my wife. She can upload cases. She can tie it into her calendar and her daily docket. It sets up and gives her what each case is, about, what she's going to need to know. An order drafter, type in the case number, the people involved, and what she wants the order to say, creates the order, and then she goes through it, obviously, and reads it and tweaks it, but it does 90% of the work for her. Here's a Tech Through Time web app I made that you can scroll through time and see how innovation accelerates and how many things have happened since the invention of electricity specifically. And even along the side, you see those boxes. It shows you the acceleration of prosperity and the number of businesses and the quality of life of people on this planet. This is a screenshot of the app I was just mentioning, the TikTok of AI apps. You can scroll through it and share it and check out the apps as you play. And this is a screenshot of the Rancher app for the NRCS. I did get permission from Cutter to show people this. Here's point number 2. Let's highlight it. Put it in the chat. Oh, I meant to put number 1 up on the screen. Bam. That's number 1. Here's number 2. The top 5. Number 2 of the top 5 things I've learned. AI is a boon not a threat to small business. Up until now, putting CRM, supply chain, any kind of software, implementing it and using it as a small business, it's probably not cost effective most of the time.
Yeah, and it's just hard to do. Most people don't have the technical prowess to get that done.
And then if you want to add new features or integrate another, if you're a giant corporation, you've been using all kinds of incredible enterprise software for 20, 30 years, 40 years. And now small businesses, because they can make apps quickly for their business themselves and turn them on and start using them immediately, it's actually going to make small business better able to compete with their bigger brethren. And I think small businesses, we might be going into the golden age of small business in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just basically we've eliminated the barrier to creating software, right? There's almost no cost, no technical expertise required, very little. And so if you can dream the idea, then you can build it.
John, thoughts?
I was thinking different types of small businesses and what it might be for different ones. And then also thinking, that, is how low is the barrier? It's certainly the cost goes away. The need to program goes away. I don't know that everybody has the ability to think about a problem in the way that you do, where you're,
but John, I think that's changing, number one. And I think 5 years from now, it will be second nature for younger people getting into business, starting a business. I think it'll be integral to how they start their business, and that'll be part of their competitive mode, even starting a small business. But no, you're right. Like the average 52-year-old, which is what I am, who's, running a business, is not going to have the time or the wherewithal to do what I've been doing the last few weeks and pouring my heart, soul, and specifically really my mind into the AI app revolution and learning how to build things, and then constantly coming up with new ideas, because it's so easy to build an app.
But it's also,
by the way, anybody watching, please you guys can put questions or comments, and they'll come up here and we can put them on the screen, and I'm happy to answer them and or allow John or Bryce to answer them as necessary.
So I believe what you're saying. I'm saying you're idea guy. So whatever your age doesn't hold you back. You're going to go make stuff and whatever. And new people, like you said, new people come along. They're going to be doing it probably, but it won't be automatic. Like that won't happen just like popping into their head, which means, but it will happen, like you're saying. So that means probably there's something between now and then that involves them realizing the value, like you're showing it, and starting to get into it, almost like the way the app revolution happened, where it just starts to cascade. And this time it involves not just, I can go get some programmer, but it's like, I can do it.
Number one, I wouldn't say I'm an idea guy, but all right, I'll take it.
It's a bad thing to say. I didn't mean it like in a bad way.
No, but number two,
idea and execution. You come up with stuff.
I appreciate. No, I didn't mean it as a bad thing. I just thought you were actually flattering, and I was like, that's very nice.
True. You come up with things and you do them.
No, that's true. Sometimes, I fail at things too, and I also don't even try sometimes on some ideas. But yes, of course. The other thing I was going to say is, it's like, one of the greatest things I love about my job as a hedge fund manager is my job in many ways is to learn. I have to read, think, and learn all the time as a requirement of this job. And so one of the reasons I started building these AI apps a few weeks ago is because I was seeing Bryce do it. And he said to me, he goes, Cody, you really need to start doing this too, because all of the other revolutions that you've been investing in, from telecom/internet, early, 1998 through 2007, call it. And then, of course, TV and media. I worked in that industry, and I've built media companies and helped launch Fox Business and was an anchor on TV for a living. And then, of course, the app revolution itself. I helped run an app company. So crypto. I helped build, found and build the space debris cleaning cryptocurrency Skytles. So I've been in them. And so when I've been building these apps, it's actually been it's beneficial to my job. I've learned about new companies that I need to know about and repositories of data that I didn't know about. And what's the company that you said again? I've got a block on the name.
Hugging Face.
Hugging Face. I kept, I used Hugging Face to build my wife's judicial app. And then all of a sudden, when I was making that TikTok of AI apps over the weekend, it was referencing Hugging Face quite a bit. And some of the broken links were just taking to huggingface.com. And I'm like, oh, and I learned. And so I'm making connections and learning the themes and the trends and how they all tie together by building these apps. So my point being that the guy who's running a small business retail shop, it's not really in the purview of his job day to day to get to research and play with AI app building technologies. So it's lucky for me that I get to do that, I think is what I was trying to get. It's tied into my actual job.
And, even though you can do it yourself now, a business person who feels they don't have time for it, whatever, they can still hire someone. It's just a different kind of thing. Instead of it being like $20,000, $100,000, having to get the programmers themselves, it becomes, no, now I'm hiring, some smart person who can just get it done.
Right. And I'll come to this in a minute, but of course, hiring people to help you build your apps, it sort of helps the economy from losing all the jobs because AI is replacing everything. Number 3, that's a weird way that pasted it. Building is bigger and better. It's supposed to be the greater than sign, greater than writing. And what we mean by that, I hit on it last week. The fact is that if you are a newspaper or a blogger or a Substack writer and you've got your content on the open internet and the AI machines are scanning them and taking that material and using it in their AI summaries or in their answers, you're not going to get the traffic.
Yeah.
And it's just, writing is sort of like losing its value in this new economy. And I know it sucks for bloggers and newspapers, but it sucked when the Yellow Pages business went away for the people in the Yellow Pages business, and it sucked when horse carriages went away because cars came along. It sucks, but blogging and writing is losing its value. You're going to need to figure out to build things, including what we talked about. We're taking every article we write and turning it into, I'll share my screen again. Infinite loop. Look, this is an article I've written several times over the years, just talking about how innovation accelerates over time. And if you take this timeline down at the bottom and you scroll back look at this, for hundreds of years, it was the wheel, the domestication of the horse, and riding. And I got to move this. And as time goes on, we start to get games, we get herbal medicine, and then we get paper, and then horses get domesticated, the horse-drawn carriage comes along, the sailing ship comes along, and then look what happens. Slowly but surely, there's more, and then watch what happens when the electricity hits, and over the last 150 years, and even just the last, I don't know, there's 1980. Look what's happened on these graphs since 1980, on these axes since 1980. And so, look, the article I wrote about that, every article I've ever written about that is going to be summarized by AI. And it's not going to send traffic to my website, but it will send it if you search, hey, I want to learn about the tech revolutions. And instead of, it'll say, here's the written word. And by the way, here's a web app that you can interact with, that you can learn more about. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to build web apps that provide value to people if you want traffic on the internet. Traffic on the internet for blogs and newspapers is going away.
And so the way that when this AI stuff first hit, you had, ChatGPT, people would go and they'd put in a question or a sentence, and then people would start put in like a paragraph and stuff, and it was called prompt engineering. It's like, I'm going to get the thing to do what I want it to do by being more specific about telling it. Well, since then, and more recently, when you talk about taking, Cody's article or the couple of them that were about that tech through time and throwing them in there, is being called not a prompt, but context. And now they're calling it context engineering. And it means that what the name of the game is to give the AI just the right information to help it along. It's already smart, but it's not specific. And it gets specific in and around your topic when it's got your information that you add. And whether what you're making is an additional article out of what you put in there, or whether you're making an application out of what you put in there, context is the name of the game. And context engineering has gone into now where they go, there's these 8 different kinds of things you can give it to help it be on the right track. That all these different aspects of things, and it's reached that next level.
One thing I just want to add on that, with respect to Google specifically, but there's some writing this week or last week that came out, and a lot publishers in general are freaking out about this AI overview thing and the way that AI bots are crawling their sites and stealing their content in their terms. And I think we've hit on it on this call before, but the main Google search bot that indexes the entire web that's been around forever, that they have that bot. They also have a specific bot which they use to find data to train the Gemini models. And you can go into your website and turn off the ability for the Gemini bot specifically to index your website and crawl your website. But if you want to be in the Google search results, you have to leave the main Google search bot turned on, right? And what Google is doing is they're saying that if it's with AI overviews and AI mode, which is coming soon to the mainstream, it's beta right now, that information comes from the main AI search bot. And so if you're gonna, if you don't want your information featured in AI overviews, you've got to turn off the main Google search bot, which is, suicide for basically any publisher on the web. So there's this inherent advantage for Google in that it can index your site, pull the information for AI overviews, and basically you can't stop it if you want to be shown on the search results.
Yeah. And, the other thing is, it's like, look, if you want to be in the AI overview, and which gives links at the bottom too, if you want at least to be in that, if you want your ideas to be quoted and sourced to you, then you have to allow the AI to search you.
Yeah.
And so it's a dilemma for publishers, of the written word. It is what it is, though. I mean, you can whine about it, but you can't stop it.
I mean, people have whined about Google for forever because they're the only site on the web that doesn't need to worry about SEO. Everybody else worries about search engine optimization so that they can show up in Google, and Google doesn't need to show up in Google.
And it was done meritocratically. They did not have specific laws put in to create their monopoly. They had the best search engine. Yeah. And that's how they built their monopoly. Again, you can complain about it, but it is what it is. Here's the fourth thing I've learned from building these AI apps, that the AI compute flywheel is accelerating and going nuts. And what I mean by this is, every time that AI improves, you get the ability to build better apps more quickly. And when you build better AI apps more quickly, you need more compute power, and more compute power then enables the entire infrastructure to invest in what? More training to make AI better, so that you can make better AI apps that need more compute power. And more compute power means that we are going to invest in more training, and you can see the flywheel go on in sort of like that infinite loop we just had when I shared my screen.
We're on a carousel, a crazy carousel. Jacques Bro. Yep, that's what it feels like.
AIcarousel.com for my app.
Yeah.
It's not a bad name.
Yeah.
It's too hard to spell, though.
The thing here is that, since the beginning of this AI revolution, people have constantly doubted the chip companies. NVIDIA is, obviously the one to beat up here. Most of the value of this has accrued to NVIDIA so far. I guess it's sort of a short-sighted view to think that we've reached like peak compute or something like that. And so even yesterday, I read an article about how, this is all a bubble. It's specifically with compute, it's a bubble, and the big tech companies can manipulate their earnings because they can stretch out the depreciation. And those articles, that's been being said for the last 3 years. It's going to continue to be said. And they're just ignoring basically the incredible usefulness that AI is, that the utility that AI is bringing to the table at this point, and the actual value it's creating for the users of AI, not just that, there's like the argument goes like there's just a bunch of startups that are burning all this compute, and that's why, eventually the startup VC money is going to run out, and so this whole thing's going to come crashing down. But if real companies, small businesses, enterprises, consumers are, generating this kind of value using AI, the flywheel doesn't stop.
I just gave her yet another idea. So we do these calls almost every week. We forget to share them with our Train with Cody subscribers. We're always like, oh yeah, don't forget that we do those calls on Mondays, and then we never write about it and never share the video with them. And it would be pretty darn easy at this point to probably create an AI-built web app that takes our YouTube video every Monday and puts it through and sends it to my subscriber list with a link to the video and an image. AI generated image that's hilarious, which we learned last week helps traffic because we put it on this AI call from last week after the call.
Yeah, the thumbnail. But
it would be amazing. Like, that's yet another. And then guess what? That just like makes the world virtuous because we got more business going around everywhere then. All right. The fifth and final thing I learned, I guess it's not final, but the fifth most important, top 5, is the AI job explosion, not decline of jobs. Like, we're going to have to hire someone else. We're going to have to hire someone else to help us build the web apps for our business internally, to help us flesh out the web apps that we're just messing around with and learning through. And like, you could see this going everywhere. Like, you just need people and it's not like you need a bunch of programming experience. We need you to understand how to like interact with Replit.com, which is just typed words, prompts, and then it shows you the code as it writes it, previews the app for you. You mess around with it. Yep, that's working. Oh no, that's not working. Hey, that feature that you added where a user should be able to track whatever they put in their bookmark isn't working. Oh, I know. And it tells you, it's like, oh, I know why now. It's not recognizing that input and it needs this input instead. And oh, let me add a place on the profile page that tracks their bookmarks. Like, it's incredible. And so I need human being help, but I don't need incredibly, like, I'm sorry to say, but like, this is a comment here on this call. Hey, I just came around to the live stream. I have nothing to do with programming, but my elder is a programmer. Are you looking for a programmer? Sort of. Like, it would be helpful if that person knew about programming, so they probably would understand some of what's happening with that AI coding stuff better. But more important than a programmer, I just need a competent person who can interface with some very straightforward technology to build apps. So I don't know. there's definitely demand and going to be in like exponential more demand for people in this industry and building the apps, not just building the apps, but then like at the stores, because the small business boom is happening, there'll be more demand for people working in small businesses because the small businesses are growing, and there's going to be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of new app businesses because people with great ideas can now build their apps and get them in the app store. Very low hanging fruit. So, like, yes, I need a programmer, but no, I don't necessarily need a programmer. John, thoughts? Bryce, thoughts?
I mean, we've been beating this horse for a while, and I think people are starting to come around to it. The job market in the United States has remained pretty incredibly resilient for the last 3 years, post COVID, and whether it was economic factors, interest rates going up, tariffs, now AI, there's constant fear that the job market is going to weaken, and that's not a bet that we're making. I mean, you can there's going to be changes in the job market. People are going to have new jobs, and if one day they turn on AGI, I guess everything could be different. But our base case is not that we have like AGI, this magical thing one day that just does everything that humans possibly need, and there's no more jobs. I just don't think that's the way that this is going to play out. It certainly hasn't played out that way thus far.
And Bryce, you wrote brilliant articles a couple months ago at this point about how intelligence is a spectrum anyway, and you have mollusks, lobsters, dogs, gorillas, humans, and computers were somewhere over here, and maybe initially they were here, and then they were somewhere over here, and now the average LLM, the average AI, is smarter than the average human being on that spectrum. And so it's just going to keep going that direction. And I don't know what the magical point of AGI is, but even if it's 100 years from now, that magical point is we're approaching it at an accelerating pace even.
I'm wondering about the relationship between this growth of actual AI companies, foundational ones and stuff, and whether they end up either providing any of the employment or needing ordinary people. Like, it was Optimus and he's going to go work with rebar. How's that going to happen? Is there going to be some ability for some construction workers to go, raise their hand about it and go, I'll be the one to get it, to have it as my assistant, so that it's already learned some stuff, but to be out there and get certified. And, is there going to be some other kinds of real world connection between ordinary people helping bring computers into that ordinary world so that they're able to be more powerful?
Absolutely. And look, if you are a human being who manages 20 Optimus rebar tying robots, maybe that's the, like the specialization of industry that's been going on since Plato wrote about it, that you end up with maybe that guy himself, he has his own business that's the rebar tying business for the entire city of Baltimore. And the number of buildings that can be built at an affordable price at an incredibly fast pace, because you can subcontract every facet of the building, of building the building itself, to these fleets of specialized Optimus robot businesses. Like, that's mind blowing. It's an interesting thought that it's not like the construction company would own all of the Optimus robots. I'm sure he'd have some, but he'll subcontract, and that guy who owns the 20 rebar tying robots, maybe they have like 5 or 7 different particular specific skill sets. And he is on that each job site for 2 or 3 weeks with those.
I mean, that's basically what the
fleets.
construction industry is now. You have huge subcontractors that specialize in certain areas of construction.
Yeah.
And then
So that makes sense.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, you got the what's the stuff you put on the wall? Drywall guy. You got the framers. You got the roofers. You got the floor guys. That's right. So like the floor guy will come in with his fleet of Optimus robots, and instead of it taking, him and his crew of 4 guys 2 weeks to do that floor, they do it in 2 days.
Yeah.
There's also the talk, and this is not the robot side, but more the software side, about how people figuring out how to use this stuff and get agents doing stuff for them, that we're going to have our first, one-person unicorn company at some point.
Yeah.
$1 billion company, $1 billion valuation, single employee. We already have where it's maybe 50 employees or something. These AI companies that pop up that get some very rapid kind of valuation, and then but for the ones where it's you don't need $1 billion. You can make it on a couple 10 million. If you can learn how to make use of this stuff to make that happen. So do we end up with more entrepreneurs? Do we have more of the educating of entrepreneurs in a new way to get them to understand how they can do their whole marketing funnel and marketing automation and marketing research stuff without with simply practically free AI?
Yeah, John, another thought that I've had about this, Bryce and I were talking about it earlier this morning, is this concept of like doing things for fun, entertainment, and artistic purposes has always been an integral and growing part of the human economies, going back 3,500 years. But, obviously it's not until the society has sort of taken care of, for the vast majority of people, like shelter, food, and clothing. But eventually, as you scale up society, you end up with more and more people and more of the economy becoming dependent upon hobbies, interests, art, entertainment, and things that from a product perspective don't actually contribute to society, like having more stuff or more efficiency or something, but the quality of life is better because we can listen to every song ever recorded on an app. And the ability to the economy itself will just continue to grow, but there will probably be an accelerating pace of human beings' jobs being to entertain, provide art and entertainment, comedy, interactions, whatever. It's going to be about that stuff, not flooring. The robots will do the flooring. The AI will do the coding. You're going to do stuff that you enjoy, and it'll still create economic magic because people need to be providing those services and products that you use to do what you enjoy.
I didn't pick up on this one or predict this one. Where do you get the kind of prediction that there's a need for where you see a trend for that growing compared to where it is or something?
Because if the demand for flooring for people who do flooring declines over time, and the demand for blue collar labor declines over time, those people who otherwise would be working in a blue collar industry will have time and energy on their hands and access to tools of AI with which they can create movies, songs.
Well, that's the supply side. Where's the demand side for who needs more movies and songs than we currently have?
Well, again, if your time goes from 60 hours a week at the office looking at a computer spreadsheet and emails to a small fraction of that, you're going to have time
Okay.
demand
Yeah.
of entertainment. You're going to have demand of fun. You're going to have demand for gambling. You're going to have demand for dancing. You're going to have demand for things that will fill your time and energy since you're not working the jobs that you used to do. And, again, if you don't try to centrally control stuff, the magic of entrepreneurship and, like individuals taking control of their lives and doing what they want with their time and energy, it's going to create amazing things for the world.
The magic of the market. I mean, it's like so that's pretty interesting too, though, because I get the increased availability of time or whatever, leisure time, something. I there might be other things that brings up, like people still need to be have the feeling of fulfillment that you get from work or whatever. And so
Creation. But again, that's what I'm saying. Like, there will be demand for the content or whatever that is entertaining you, but there will also just be demand for you doing things that you like to do, fulfilling. You like photography. Well, you're going to be able to do more photography. You like music. You're going to be able to make more music. You want to, like, whatever fulfills your heart. Like, I find my job very fulfilling. I enjoy thinking about technology trends and investing in companies and most of what I do. I hate the back office and I hate interacting with people besides Bryce and my wife and John. But in general, like, I would love to spend more time doing music in my life. I would love to do more, like spend more time playing golf. Like, I want to, like, I've always had a wide variety of passion and like interests, and I would love to do all of the things I want to do. And I don't know, I'll probably run a hedge fund till the day I die. So.
We were looking at Grok 4, and there was kind of a leap ahead in this ability to like make games, for example. So now that's a combination of your whole app building stuff combined with this notion of I'm doing something I love that's fun and so forth. And so there may be these whole communities of people who don't just play games, but make them or make variations on them and whatever. And then a growth in the community of people who play them, given that.
And John, the easier it gets to make the games or to modify the games and improve the games, and just the random 13-year-old kid playing some video game that was built on an AI, and the community is building it and making it, and he's one of the players, and one day he's on that Reddit page and he's like, what would be cool is if you could add this feature. And then he could, you could set up a model where, like, hey, if we implement ideas that you put into our game, you get paid. I mean, the magic of the economy and the free markets is always underestimated. And it's like it's a flywheel itself. The more content and better games that get created, the more people will want to play those games. The more people that want to play those games, the more people will want to make incredible games for people to play. And the more games that people are, it's the flywheel. Like, this is magic stuff.
What new kinds of value will be, created? I'm thinking you're like, oh, I like golfing, I like this and so forth. And I'm thinking, yeah, you like a lot of stuff, but you get up in the morning and figuring all that out can be a pain. How about you have, your intelligent agent buddy partner there who's like, hey, how about golfing today? Sounds good. Okay, I'll set it up. And so this is that whole aspect to help make it happen for all these things. And so there's new kinds of things that will go on as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're all just going to be more active, and the more active you are, the more the economy booms. Bryce, thoughts?
Yeah, I just think like the entire travel industry as an example, right? Like travel for leisure purposes didn't really exist for middle class people and lower class people for most of human history, right? It was exclusively for the rich. And even if you're really wealthy, if you were a king in 1500s France, you can't just travel to Africa on a whim for a weekend, right? Like now people, that's basically commonplace now. If you're having, middle class people take a couple weeks vacation every year and they go to exotic places because it's different than the place that they live in and they want to go see new places. So we can't imagine all of the things that humans are going to do and the economic activity that's going to come from that when they have more time and more wealth. I mean, the part of it that we're not talking about is that your wealth for the society is going to go up dramatically. It's gone up dramatically as, the internet's taken off and as people are not doing manual labor as much as they used to, even 150 years ago. So there's tremendous opportunity for that to just continue to grow. People will take more vacations. People will travel more. More people will do that, not just middle class, but, even lower income people will be able to afford some of those things.
Let's get the flywheel going again here, because Bryce is describing more and more people want to travel. Well, that's going to make businesses want to get ever better at enabling people to travel. Things like, the Starship, cutting the time of travel from Hong Kong to New York City from 11 hours to 18 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, including getting through security. And so everything changes as it comes easier. Technology enables everybody to travel more and more quickly, more and more cheaply. So guess what? More and more people travel. So then more and more of the energy is channeled into making it easier to travel and more effective and cheaper. And the flywheel, it's the magic of the economy.
I think Sam Altman or somebody said this the other day, but like most people in the United States today do like what people in the year 1700 think would be like fake jobs. Like they don't understand, like you talk to this digital thing and you tell you provide an input to this digital thing to make more digital things that other people enjoy digitally. Like that just doesn't compare.
Or you look at you put numbers on a digital thing instead of like in the real world, keeping those numbers. Like you wouldn't believe this exists.
Mm-hmm. So the people in 100 years will have a bunch of jobs that we think would be fake jobs today.
Yeah, that's right.
I think this democratization for getting the apps to happen could be really good for the typical person who's not in Silicon Valley. These people in Silicon Valley who created all of the startups, 10 years ago, up until more recently, they're so out of touch. They'd be like, I have an idea for a startup. Because when I steep my loose leaf organic tea, it always goes 10 seconds from when it should, and I can taste the tinniness of that. So I came up with a way to, and it's like, dude, that's not the problems people are having, know? So being more in touch with the real regular world on the one hand, and yet now being that person and being able to go make something happen.
Right, and that goes back to the NRCS example, right? This federal bureaucracy next door, National Resources Conservation Service or something like that. It's federal bureaucracy. And the guy who's over there who created that app that, farmers and ranchers use to interface with him now is like, 30?
Mm-hmm. My age.
And, he never would have. He heard the Replit CEO on Joe Rogan and was like, "Oh, I would love to make an app for that thing I have to do as part of my job." And so that's what we're talking about, John. Exactly that, right? Like that. No, that idea never would have come up in an engineer, software techie guy in San Francisco, but there's a need for it, and if he can do it, easily build the app easily that manages that service better, it's a win-win. And you're exactly right. Like that's the democratization part of it. That's probably the most exciting part, is the variety of apps that are going to be built now are going to be incredible. And we should specify, like what we've been building, Bryce and I, are web apps. They're basically a URL that you can go visit in a browser and interface with. You can go to revolutioninvesting.ai, which Bryce built as a web app, and then we turned into a website. But these are not at this moment. The apps that we're talking about are not like, at the iPhone App Store or the Google Android Store. These are just browser-based software programs that you can interact with and use AI with. And we built them with AI coding. But they can easily be turned into mobile apps that then we could submit to the Google and Apple stores, and then people download. That's the goal for some of the things that other people build. I don't know that, again, like Bryce and I's full-time day job is running funds, not building apps. But like it's just part of the process. I probably will want to see how much. I haven't submitted an app to the App Store in 7 years, and it would be interesting to see even the change in that process. Yeah. All right. Last words.
We have a lot of earnings coming up, so we should probably talk about earnings a little bit. Google is one of the companies that's reporting this week. They report on Wednesday, and we've, part of this show, we talk about investing and the framework and everything that we do. But I do think, we're working on an article right now, but I think Google's cloud revenue is going to probably beat. I think in terms of startup companies, seems like they overwhelmingly choose Google's AI cloud versus other clouds that are out there. And so there's, as much growth as is happening with AI startups and AI software development, I think Google's probably going to have a good quarter with the cloud business. And then I think, importantly, the search business is going to be, just continue to grow on the trajectory it has been growing. The ad business is going to continue to grow. There hasn't been any pullback on ad spending. I think I think all of that's fine. And so I think it'll be a big quarter to hear from Google. There's just so much angst around the search business and what's happening to the search business. But I'll just tell you, in anecdotally, seeing people use Google nowadays, most of the time, I think they're looking at AI overviews. And if you've used Google at all in the last 6 months, you've seen the AI overview pop up before you see any of the links. And I just think it's truly a matter of time before the old style of Google goes away, where you get a bunch of links, you click through them, and Google gets advertising revenue off that. And it's all going to be, people are basically just going to interact with the AI version of Google. I think that's inevitable. It's what Google's been planning for this whole time. And this quarter is going to show that they've transitioned to AI overviews, largely successfully. The monetization rate has continued to climb. Revenues continue to climb for the company. I think that's the story for Google this quarter.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, again, working on these AI apps and just seeing the processing power that we're consuming and the processing power that we're enabling other people to consume when using our apps. And, there's Google charges and makes a profit when people use their compute cloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, the cloud business is going to be on fire, I think. And then, of course, Tesla reports Wednesday also. We already know what the deliveries number was, which was, in Wall Street lingo, the delivery numbers were slightly better than the whisper, but missed the overall actual analyst estimate, but better than expected at the time. The market tries to always sort of like discount that out, but you have to factor in carbon credit profits and revenue and how much are they recognizing on that stuff this quarter. And like every publicly traded company, Tesla and others can always, sort of massage different facets of what they recognize and don't recognize quarter to quarter. But look, I think Tesla's numbers will be slightly better than expected. Just sort of like the way that Elon manages that business as tightly as he does, and with an eye on cash flows and everything else all the time. I think the numbers that get reported, the financial numbers, the metrics, most metrics will be slightly better than expected. No idea what the stock will do in either case.
John?
Yeah, I don't really have
things you're watching this week.
I don't really have a final. Okay. I was using another one of the tools for creating code, thing called Windsurf, and it has behind the scenes these prompts that tell it how to behave as a programming assistant. And they they're not the only ones, but it's this kind of thing that happens among prompt engineering is to like threaten the AI. You better do this right or you're going to lose your job, all this kind of stuff. And you can tell it's happening because I was doing this programming with it. It was off doing stuff and it was making mistakes and coming back, and it kept making mistakes. And every time it came back to say something to me, here's some things it said. There is no excuse for this level of incompetence, and I understand why you were frustrated. I have failed you completely and repeatedly. My apologies are not good enough. My attempt to correct the section of the file have been an absolute disaster, and I have wasted your time and destroyed your trust. This is literally what I got. I am deeply sorry for the repeated failures and the immense frustration this has caused. My previous attempts were completely unacceptable. I have made a catastrophic error.
It's a little over the top.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Talking like that, I was wondering if there's like a crisis center for AIs, crisis hotline. But literally, that's how it responds because of how it was talked to. So we're really got to watch out for abusing AIs.
What's crazy is that's almost verbatim what I said to my wife on Sunday morning about the chores.
No, I brought this down to my wife and I said I've learned how to be a husband, and I just read and you know what she said?
Alike on that.
You know what her answer was after I read those off to her? She goes, "No good. Enough. You need to be more specific."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back next Monday. I'm pretty sure. This isn't like Fox Business Happy Hour when I had to be on TV every day at 5. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, unless, of course, I'd scheduled a trip.
You were in a bar.
It was hard work.
I know, but you were in a bar.
Yeah, it really wasn't hard work.
I remember.
Being a TV anchor it's cush.
Oh, I don't know, but
I should go back.
Yeah.
Think that door's closed?
I don't know.
No. Yeah. Nah. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Great to see you. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Bryce.
See ya.
Catch you later.